Before history learned to write, before borders were drawn on maps and names were set in stone, there was an empire spoken of only in whispers. Its story is told in fragments, a civilization deliberately erased, yet whose power once bent oceans and skies. Its reach moved trade, beliefs, and the very destiny of the known world. The mystery of its disappearance haunts scholars to this day. It didn't fall in a single, famous battle. There was no great burning city. Instead, it faded away through catastrophe and silence, leaving behind myths, broken stones, and a universe of unanswered questions. These clues invite us to follow traces buried deep beneath sand, ice, and time itself. Ancient legends from continents thousands of miles apart tell of teachers arriving by sea. They brought calendars, knowledge of the stars, and the foundations of law. They spoke of a civilization older than memory, one that guided humanity's first cities and then vanished just as abruptly. Old maps, drawn centuries later, hint at coastlines that shouldn't exist and islands that have been scratched out, as if a great flood swallowed them whole. Forbidden texts, copied and hidden for generations, describe fire raining from the sky, and a great deliberate forgetting as the survivors scattered, carrying fragments of truth disguised as myth. What could have caused such a collapse? Climate change, long before modern industry, may have delivered the first blow. As ice caps melted, seas rose, and fertile plains disappeared beneath the waves, turning a global power into a vulnerable refugee. Earthquakes and volcanic winters could have shattered their ports and temples, causing trade routes to collapse and famine to spread. Archaeology keeps uncovering strange clues. Underwater ruins, massive stones aligned with constellations, and signs of advanced engineering with no clear origin. Yet, these discoveries often face resistance, dismissed or reburied because they challenge the comfortable, official timeline of how civilization is supposed to begin. But now, modern technology is peering beneath the oceans and deserts. Satellites, sonar, and AI are revealing patterns invisible to earlier explorers, patterns that suggest a coordinated, global plan. Roads align with stars, cities on different continents share the same sacred proportions, and artifacts appear suddenly without any signs of gradual development. These findings raise uncomfortable questions about a lost, shared influence. Of course, rewriting our origins threatens established authority and the stories nations tell themselves. So, evidence is sometimes met with silence. As these puzzle pieces come together, a shadowy outline of this empire emerges. It's not a fantasy, but a complex civilization that mastered navigation, astronomy, and organization on a planetary scale. Its disappearance may not have been an accident, but a managed collapse, enforced by chaos and a selective amnesia. The question is, did we lose this knowledge by chance, or were we encouraged to forget, to reset power and begin again? In searching for this lost empire, we are also searching for a part of ourselves, for the truths that were deliberately left behind, waiting for us beneath the silence. What if our entire understanding of human history is wrong? Archaeologists are digging up anomalies that just don't fit the official story. Imagine cities buried under layers far too deep for accepted timelines, or ancient stonework so precise it rivals our own machines. We're finding the same symbols oceans apart, as if distance meant nothing to our ancestors. These discoveries don't show slow, gradual learning. They appear fully formed, as if they were inherited from a lost source, not invented. But you won't hear this on the news. These inconvenient facts are often dismissed as coincidence or one-off local genius. Why? Because admitting a shared, advanced origin would completely unravel the neat, linear story of human progress we've been taught. It would mean we're missing a huge chapter of our own past. Even more telling are the ancient maps, hidden away in old libraries and private collections. These maps show coastlines that are now under miles of ice, or lands that have been submerged by the sea for thousands of years. The incredible part is, they match modern satellite data. This wasn't guesswork. This was direct observation, charted by master navigators who crossed open oceans millennia before we thought possible. This level of skill points to a global, unified system of knowledge, not isolated tribes figuring things out on their own. When experts are confronted with these maps, they're often labeled as forgeries or mistakes, and quietly put back into storage. Their accuracy is a threat to the established timeline of civilization. But the story doesn't end there. Forbidden texts, those that survived book burnings and censorship, describe a world once connected by trade, law, and a shared understanding of the cosmos. They speak of a great catastrophe, a time of fire, flood, and darkness that brought an end to this golden age. Later cultures absorbed these memories, turning history into myths and allegories. Scholars who dare to study these texts seriously often find their careers at a standstill. The idea of deliberately suppressed knowledge is too radical. It suggests that our collective amnesia wasn't an accident. It was orchestrated. Excavations that might prove this theory are often stalled. Their funding cut, especially if they're in politically sensitive areas. But the evidence keeps piling up, thanks to new technology like ground-penetrating radar and underwater drones. Putting all these clues together, a picture emerges of a vast, ancient civilization, one that valued connection over conquest and spread knowledge. Instead of armies, its collapse may have been so total that humanity was forced to start over, rebuilding from fragments and legends. If this is true, we aren't at the peak of human achievement. We are simply standing on reclaimed ground. The silence from mainstream institutions on this topic is becoming deafening. It forces us to ask the real question. Not asterisk, if asterisk this civilization disappeared, but asterisk, why asterisk its memory was erased. What do you think? Did you know that modern technology is accidentally becoming a confessional for our distant past? We're uncovering patterns that no single authority can control. Satellites are revealing geometric scars hidden beneath ancient forests. Sonar is mapping entire cities resting on the ocean floor. And powerful algorithms are connecting ancient symbols found on separate continents, suggesting a level of coordination that defies coincidence. It's as if a forgotten intelligence once saw our planet as a single, interconnected system, not the fragmented territories we see today. Each new scan weakens the old argument that ancient cultures were isolated. Instead, it seems humanity once shared a global framework of knowledge, a framework lost not to ignorance, but to catastrophe and upheaval. Climate records now confirm that our planet has experienced periods of rapid disaster. Melting ice sheets causing sudden, massive floods, and volcanic winters capable of collapsing even advanced societies within a few generations. Imagine the chaos. Such events would have shattered infrastructure and communication lines, forcing survivors into localized struggles for survival. Complex knowledge, the kind that requires networks to maintain, would have faded away. Practical skills would become paramount, while history and science simplified into legend. Over centuries, these legends were retold, morphing into myth, and eventually dismissed as fantasy. What started as a desperate fight for survival became a kind of historical amnesia. An ancient, unified civilization dissolved into scattered tribes, each believing they were the beginning of history, rather than a continuation of something far, far older. So why isn't this front-page news? Well, acknowledging a forgotten global civilization raises uncomfortable questions about our own. It challenges national pride, economic structures, and ideological foundations. If a global power existed without our modern states, then the authority we take for granted is less inevitable than we're taught to believe. Suppression doesn't always require conspiracy. It only requires selective attention. What isn't funded isn't taught, and what isn't taught is forgotten. But curiosity is a powerful force. Researchers, divers, and engineers are following the anomalies, not the official narrative. Each submerged ruin and misdated artifact chips away at the story of our slow, linear ascent. It suggests history isn't a straight lineup, but a series of cycles: rise, collapse, and rediscovery. We might not be inventing progress for the first time, but simply remembering it after a long period of forgetting. As we pull this forgotten empire back into the light, we're left with a haunting possibility. What if it wasn't destroyed just by nature, but by a conscious choice? A choice made by leaders who knew that survival required forgetting, that the memory of what was lost was a burden too heavy for a broken world to carry. If that's true, the ruins beneath our feet aren't just warnings of failure, but reminders of a deliberate restraint. And now, we face the same choice our ancestors did. Do we remember fully and risk repeating their fall? Or do we look away once more? Thanks for watching.